Coming up on the Online Trainer Show.
So the idea here is a lot of really well-intentioned trainers that want to work with a lot of populations that potentially don't have a lot of money think that they need to make the majority of their money from those populations.
Right.
And that's where they go wrong. It's the beginning of the process that's the issue. It's not the end of the process. There's nothing really that I can tell you. I mean, maybe we can help you with sales a little bit and objection handling a little bit at the end, but really your problem is at the beginning.
Hello and welcome to the Online Trainer Show, where we make sense of the online fitness world and help you build your online fitness business and your dream life and have some fun while you're doing it. I'm Jonathan Goodman, one of your co-hosts, and I'm excited that you're here. Thanks for listening.
You know, we started our online fitness business a couple weeks ago, and as the leaders in online fitness business education for a lot of years, we got to know all of the software companies inside and out. We have been working with them. I've been an advisor. I've advised basically every major software company. And so when it came time for us to build our system, you know, I wanted to choose the one that we were going to work with, the software program that we were going to work with, that was going to be the right combination of ease of use. We're going to onboard a lot of coaches very quickly to work with our clients. You know, we brought on 5 at the beginning, but we wanted to build a system where we could bring on a lot of coaches. So very, very quickly. So it had to be really easy to use, had to have the right kind of automation, had to have the data that we needed in there, had to have an Android app and an EOS app. And so we decided to use PT Distinction. And that's not just because, you know, they were the sponsors for our show. We decided to use them after looking at all the options for what we needed the best, and really, really have been loving them so far. So I can't recommend PT Distinction enough if you're looking for online training software. And normally they give a 30-day trial fee to check out the system. But what they've done special for us and listeners of the show, so that's you, is giving you guys a 60-day trial. So basically double the trial period, really to make sure you love them. And one of the things I love about that is it's not like a coupon code. It's nothing, right? Like they're putting skin in the game. Like they're basically willing to let you try out everything they have for free for 60 days, knowing that you're going to love it so that you keep using it. And that to me is a testament to just their own belief in the quality of their system. And that's one of the things that I really look for. But I want to kick it to Ren for a second. Ren, you're one of our coaches in online trainer coaching. Yep. And so you just started using the system, 2 weeks ago and got in there. So how are you finding it so far, man?
You know, it's very much like a pair of shoes for a kid. You know, you can grow into it. What I love about it is how simple it is at the front end.
How did you just come up with that?
Yeah, I just made that up. Well,
that is the best analogy that I think, like that analogy was so perfect for what you're talking about. And I know you just came up with that on the spot.
I did, you know,
amazing.
But it is, you know, you grow into it. So it works at every level is what I'm finding out, because I'm a little bit more complex as a trainer. I've been online training for a while. So I've been around the block, as they say. And one great thing about PT Distinction is it can go from simplicity to sort of explicit detail in a short amount of time. If you need more detail, if you're expert at programming, PT Distinction makes sense for you. If you're new to programming, PT Distinction is great for you. It's got a great library. So I love the fact that it will sort of grow along with your training business. That's one of my favorite things about it so far, having engaged with it for only a few weeks. So, you know, I got to say, normally I don't support your choices, Jonathan. We all know that. But in this case, I'm willing to say possibly that you didn't make an error.
There you go. I mean, that's fantastic. So guys, if you're listening and you want to get going with that deal, with that special deal for PT Distinction, you can go to the show notes for this episode or just go straight to onlinetrainer.com/PTD. And you'll see there's coupon code. Just enter it in when you check out and you'll get the 60 days to check it out. So the Online Trainer Show, not sure if you guys know, is actually produced by the same people who created the Online Trainer Academy. I'm the founder of it. All of us are graduates for it. Ren and Carolina, you guys are both actually level 2 certified. Is that right?
Correct.
We're a big deal.
You guys have been hanging around for a few years in our communities.
I feel old.
And young and hard. And one of the things that I'm most proud of with the Online Trainer Academy, I mean, it's not the fact that it was the first ever textbook for the subject, still the only textbook, the only real curriculum that exists. for online training, and that we have worked with more people than anybody else. We're at 35,000 or something people that we've worked with in 87 countries. So we know what we do works. It's actually the longevity of the success of people in the program. And that's something I'm super proud of, because the methods that we teach are agnostic. They don't fall prey to changes in algorithms. We don't teach you necessarily how to leverage like the newest, hottest software or social media, or whatever it is. What we do is we empower you and we teach you strategies to actually jump on and understand what the foundational principles are for success. What are the skills that you need to up level to be a successful online trainer? We're talking everything from obviously your marketing skills and your business development skills to your client skills, motivational interviewing. How do you assess clients online? How do you take care of your clients well? Because even if I could help you get more clients, if you can't take care of them and get them good results, then, not much is good is going to happen, and you're going to have to keep reinventing the wheel, and that's straight up exhausting, and you're destined to fail. And that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, that our community has been around and continues to grow. I mean, we've been around for 8 years. You can't have an educational course that's been around for 8 years in a platform that changes as much as the internet does, and not really have struck on some very important, fundamental, foundational principles that are wildly accessible. And so if you guys are interested in that, I encourage you to check out the Online Trainer Academy. We produce this podcast, and we've been around for a while. We're going to be around for a lot longer, and we'd love for you to join us. If you just go to onlinetrainer.com/academy, then we will take great care of you. And we do, of course, have a guarantee, and we guarantee everything that we do as well. So there's no risk. So check it out, onlinetrainer.com/academy. Hello, my name is Jonathan Goodman, and welcome to the Online Trainer Show. We are 3 people here today because Carolina decided not to show up. So we're going to throw her underneath the bus, hoping that nothing bad has happened. We don't actually know. It's kind of like when you see somebody in public fall down and you want to laugh,
right?
But you make sure that they're not seriously injured first. Then when you figure out they are seriously injured, you feel bad for laughing. But if you find out that they're not, then you can laugh pretty hard. It's kind of one of those situations. We don't know. We're assuming Carolina's okay. She just forgot, or like something else came up. But if there's something is seriously bad happening, we're going to feel pretty bad about it. Regardless, she's not here. So it's just the 3 of us, And today is episode 34, and we are talking about what to do when clients cannot afford your training, even if it's raining.
You drained my brain.
Nice. Thanks for being here.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
Are we at the generation now where they don't know what a phone in a house is? Like, have we? It's probably 18-year-olds, right? Like 18-year-olds. What year is this? First of all, let me start.
2020. It's been a long 2020, but yeah.
So 18 years ago was what, 1998? Is that right? Is that how that works? I don't do numbers and math.
2002.
So 2002. I was close, 98, 2002. You get the same version of Whitney Houston in 1998 and 2002, so it's pretty much the same year for me.
If it's any consolation, I thought that your math was right.
Yeah, it sounded good, right? Like it sounded in the ballpark of where the date should be. So 2000.
Generally, when it comes to math, I just estimate.
Right. Like if somebody says a number that's close to the number that I think it might be, and they say, "Oh, it's 2000," blah blah blah, right? I'm like, "Oh yeah."
It's not worth figuring it out.
But then there's always
nodes for that one.
Right. Exactly. But there's always some, just how, how you have the like grammar Nazi, like there are math Nazis out there too. There's going to be one person in the crowd like, what are you guys talking about? It's 2002. You carry the one and you're like, okay, thanks for making everybody look stupid.
Yeah.
But you got to do it the Common Core way.
Right. Right. Like it wasn't so pivotal to the conversation that you could just not leave us in our erroneous assumption of what the number was. Like, you could have left that alone, bro. Like, it's not crucial to the conversation. I'm talking about Whitney Houston doing drugs here, for God's sakes. Like, we don't care about the math. In any case, yeah. So 2002. So those were cell phone years, right? People probably still had a phone in their house. You guys had phones in your homes? No, Jonathan, you got a phone in the house? A landline?
Yeah, I do have phones in my homes, Jones.
I'm already tired of today's podcast. I'm tapping out. That's
Carolina
it.
hasn't even shown up yet, and we've already broken up into rhyme.
Yeah, right.
Because I can spin it on a dime.
Right. And it sounds just fine, but don't do it all the time. Really, it's blowing my mind. So,
but every once in a while, these rhymes are sublime.
Amber's delts are fine. She's been lifting a long time.
I wish they were
She's
mine.
covering her mouth and not mine. I'm a freestyler, babe. Son, I get the freestyling. What was I talking about? I was talking about the phone. So
I put some sunscreen on so I don't shine.
Jonathan, you're interrupting my story.
Are you just Googling words that rhyme now?
Yeah, that's
No,
exactly. This is a whole
straight
episode.
off the top of my head. This is what we do when Carolina shows up later, doesn't show up to her.
Right. She was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I saved it. I bet
You
we got
save
this.
it. I had nothing.
Swoosh. I'm always ready for a funky rhyme. I'm always ready to drop a funky rhyme. But that's the best analogy ever for what's going on right now. The analogy of a person falling down and you don't want to laugh until you make sure they're okay. Like, can I go ahead and put a disclaimer out there for the things that I'm about to say about Carolina, so that if in fact we find out that something happened that was serious, like, here's my disclaimer up front, very sorry about the things that I said on today's podcast about you, Carolina. Godspeed to you. You're in our thoughts, and we're sending you good energy. So I think that really should clear up anything that I say following what I just said. Like, we're good to go from this point.
But here's the thing, man. What do you know about the media right now? I mean, it doesn't matter all of what you said. Context doesn't matter. Nuance doesn't matter.
No.
What matters is that there's a little bit of a sound clip where you said something that could be taken the wrong way.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we're just going to run with that. So basically, if something serious did happen to Carolina, then you're in the doghouse.
Pretty
but
much.
We hope that she's okay. I'm sure that she's fine.
My career, such that it is ruined. Some have told me it was ruined before this podcast. So
imagine how low you'd have to go to get kicked off of this podcast.
Right. But I feel like I'm treading the line. I feel like so I love the topic today, because if I can be transparent with you all, may I be transparent, in the reality that is my life, the adventurous reality that is my life. I had a call today. Okay. I had a call today with a potential client that I was not able to sell. I didn't get through the call to the other side, to the golden pile of Canadian loonies, to close that sale. So this is a good topic for me today, and it happens. I mean, nobody's 100%, but
was the objection money?
It was a money objection. It wasn't money. And for those that don't know, out there in podcast land, another area of transparency, I'm an old sales dog. Like, sales isn't, for most coaches, sales is sort of a new thing. It's sort of a slightly uncomfortable thing. We have to learn the process in it. But I literally used to teach objections to large groups of insurance agents. Like, I was a sales trainer in the organization that I was in. Shout out to American Income Life Insurance Company. Get
them to sponsor this podcast.
We should. They got oodles of money, man. I mean, Torchmark Corporation. Oh man, they got gobs of money. They got more money. What did Forrest Gump say when he said, the guy was like, "You own them?" He said, "Yes, we got more money than Davy Crockett."
One of my favorite conversations in the last year was with Jason, who's standing on the other side of my computer, but he's got headphones on, so we probably can't hear. Mm-hmm. But he came to me one day. He's like, "John, I have the best idea." So Jason's like a co-head of marketing. Really, he's our marketing lead, because I don't do much these days other than show up on a podcast twice a week. But he he came to me one day and he's like, I have the best idea, man. We should offer online training insurance. I was like, you saying we should underwrite insurance, or we should like be the in-between to insurance companies? Because we already do that, right? We go out of our way and we spend the time so our students don't have to for the Online Trainer Academy. And we make connections with companies and we try to find the best deals available and keep up with changes too. And he's like, no, man, we should be the ones to actually offer the insurance. It's just a numbers game. I was like, yeah, and we don't know those numbers.
It's only a numbers game. You know, I'm going to do surgery. It's just a matter of a little sawing. You know, I've got a saw at the house. I got a circular saw. You cut the stuff out that you don't want in there, the bad stuff. You scoop it out. You leave the other stuff in there. It's basically the same.
It's like that Simpsons episode where Homer goes to like this fancy sushi restaurant, and the sushi chef is just like, poisonous fish,
Right.
tasty fish. And he cuts out like a tiny little square of it. It's like,
Oh my God.
it's like, dude, I mean, you have a lot of very good ideas. Like, you're very welcome here, and you
Right.
are a member of the team that we value very much.
Valuable member.
But that idea is terrible.
It's the worst thing you've ever said to me. Please, if I had a glue-on zipper, I would glue the zipper to your upper and lower lip and zip it closed at this moment.
I'm just going to let Lloyd's of London
right.
do
Gonna
insurance.
Get his mouth insured, get your hands only. Amber should get her delts insured through Lloyd's of London.
Gosh, you should. Well, Lloyd's of London is the one that insures that, all these like wacky things where they insure like hand models and stuff like that. That's all Lloyd's of London. Like they're the crazy ones. Yep.
Yeah, they would insure J-Lo's butt. On the old Price is Right, the old announcer that you say, Amber Reynolds, come on down. You're the next contestant on the Price is Right. Roddy was his name. His voice was insured by Lloyd's of London. It's one of the first things that you learn about when you get into the insurance game. The insurance industry. Should I say industry or industry?
So you're a sales dog and you missed a sale today.
That's exactly what happened. And, if I can, Amber says it's time to wrap up our banter, but if I may be transparent, everybody's going to miss every once in a while, and you know what? The conditions weren't right, Jonathan. I set myself up poorly. Here's what happened. I felt like I was good enough to operate outside of process. So that's a good lesson.
I don't understand what those words mean.
What it means was I was short on time.
Okay.
I had an OTA coaching call after. I didn't have the appropriate amount of time set. I wasn't prepared. Normally I'm very well studied because in OTA 2, for those that don't know, we use a two call method. Right. So I wasn't very well studied from the first call, rushed into it. When you have experience in an area, and this is also a good lesson, when you have an experience in an area, it's very easy to get lax. If you're not on your stuff, you can start to never believe your own hype is what I'm saying. Last time I had enrollments, I was bang, 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 back to back, doing well. I even bragged about it a little bit in the OTA 2 group. And today I let myself relax a little bit too much, wasn't prepared. And, when things like that happen, you get movies like Glitter with Mariah Carey. And that's what I got. I got the Mariah Carey movie version of OTA level sales today. It's just a shoddy product.
You know what it was? She saw Honey by Jessica Alba and she was like, I got to get in on that.
Right. She said, I'll see your Honey and I'll raise you one glitter.
That's what it was.
And that was, although I liked Honey. I like Jessica Alba. Yeah, I like Jessica Alba. Anytime,
was great. We use the Honest company. We use Jessica Alba's company's shampoos and stuff. Yep, it's no tears. That's what they trademarked, no tear shampoo.
Well, that's very nice. I remember her talking about the Honest company, and I thought she had something to do with Never mind that. I won't mention that here today on this podcast. That's story for another time with the more
But
adult
to your point where you get comfortable and do actually a worse job of stuff that you're too comfortable in. Did you know that the vast majority, I'm going to butcher the numbers because clearly I'm not a numbers guy, as we figured out today.
Yeah, we learned that early. We don't do
2020 minus 18 is what, like
12 or something.
1995? I don't know. And it's close. And so what I heard a long time ago is, and I didn't check, because why would you check to back up facts? I mean, that's just silly. Nobody does that.
We don't need that here on this podcast. I can tell you that.
And nobody's got time for that. Is the majority of car accidents actually happen within 2 kilometers of a person's home?
Yes.
And it's just because we are comfortable in our surroundings. And so we stop paying attention in the same way that we would pay attention in places where we are less familiar. Absolutely. And it's kind of the same thing. Who was it in our group? Brian, I think. How do you pronounce his last name? Quinlan in Australia, in level 2 of the Online Trainer Academy, was talking about that. He's basically like, guys, go back to your original sales training calls. Because basically everybody in level 2 of the Online Trainer Academy, like, we go into sales training like very, very deep with you when you're going through it. It's like, go back and study that. Don't get complacent.
Yes.
Because I butchered a call. Then I went back to that training and reconnected with that person and converted them on an $1,800 package.
Yeah, 1,900. Yeah.
Was it 19?
I think it was 19, and then he had another one for over a thousand. Yeah, again, the numbers are irrelevant to us here at the Online Trainer Show. We don't do the numbers. It's just filler in between our ideas about other subjects. We thought a 1 or a 19 or whatever, and then he had another one. He had another sale after that. Yeah, okay. He had like 2. Yeah, that's so funny that I just read that today. And normally I ignore every group that I'm in that pertains to the PTDC or OTA. But
that group, but the level 2 group has actually become really, really
it's a great group.
It's by far my favorite group on the internet.
Great group.
It's just just the people in there, the personalities. Everybody's helpful. Everybody's supportive. I mean, it's certainly hard for people sometimes if they're still early on in their journey perhaps, and they see other people doing well and posting well. I'm sure that's hard for them, but for the most part, everybody's doing well, right? Which helps. Right. And everybody can see the light, even if they haven't like gotten to the point where they're converting a ton yet. They're still seeing the light, and they're still seeing a lot of progress, and everybody else is lifting them back up, which is super cool.
Yeah, but isn't that group is what a group should be? When you think about what a fitness professional group should be,
right?
That's exactly what that OTA 2 level 2
accepting of other people's ideas, weirdness, quirks, versus Online Trainers Unite, which is exactly what a group should not be. Hey, I was wondering about this one thing that I'm struggling with. You're an idiot. How could you call yourself a professional if you don't even know that? I'm trying. That's why I'm asking. Well, I'm really good because I do this. Well, I mean, I didn't ask how good you were. That's basically every conversation. It's just peacock feathers just flying out over and over and over the place.
Everybody is the WWE version of The Rock. Shut your mouth and know your role, son.
It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't
matter what you smell. Like, that's what goes on the online training group. I stay out of there, man, because it's depressing. Like, I'll see Amber in there sometimes with her awesome video answers, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna get some hate mail later today for answering a question in a loving, thoughtful way. Like, that won't go over well here.
How dare you be kind and compassionate and thoughtful?
Right. But to your point, Jonathan, even the people that are wildly successful in the OTA 2 level group, they are very kind about sharing the keys to that success. So even in the sense that you may be newer, and sure, you can get a little disappointed. You say somebody's like, I just made $8,000 in 20 minutes. You're like, what the hell? Like, I can't even get in my own phone. But then that person will come behind that with, and here's how I did it.
Yeah, right.
If you're wondering how to work it, DM me. Or I'm more than willing to do a live session here. Like, it's a very, very complimentary group of people. But we've got a topic today.
We do.
And I'm part of the topic today. I don't know what the topic is. Don't show me that post-it note, Amber.
Why would you hold up a post-it note that says topic ? Amber?
Because I was
that's
hoping we would get to the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly both of us have forgotten about what the topic is already.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's
A good thing I have it written down on my computer.
Yeah.
What to do when clients cannot afford your training? Well, this is a good topic. We should have
It
gotten
is
to
a
this
good
one
topic.
sooner.
We're surprised after hearing the second time, having forgotten it. We're now thrilled about knowing what the topic is again, and now we're surprised that we didn't know what it was.
That was by design. That was by design the whole time. It's really good to have loved and then lost and then forgotten about the original love and then
Right.
find love again.
Right.
Is what we're saying. That's the lesson
Man.
today on the Online Trainer Show.
We're going to have an OTH
Love and
pretty
loss.
soon. Online Trainer
Yeah.
Hallmark cards written by Jonathan Goodman. That was beautiful.
We're just going to go through the whole alphabet.
Yeah.
Online Trainer
right.
xylophones?
Right. Online Trainer anything.
We have this book of like what you will be for Calvin. That's like what will you be when you grow up, and it's A to Z. And we got the book given to us by actually an OTA student. It was a super nice gift. And
Oh my God.
and I looked at Alice and I was like, there's no way that X is not X-ray technician. Like there's just nothing else. And we get to X, and you know what X is? Xenobiologist.
Oh, nice. Nice. Very,
Which
very fancy.
studies like life forms on other planets, right?
Nice.
Which I learned from that book.
What a great book.
Yeah, it's actually a cute book. We should read it again. We've been into
Yes.
Curious George lately. Anyway, and then it was Mighty Robot before then, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's
Ricky Wakata's Mighty Robot. It was a cool book. So what do you do? I mean, you talked about your call today, and you talked about like preparation, how you might not be prepared, and it's a little bit different from the topic, but I think perhaps what's really good to know about this is a lot of the time when you get to that objection for money, that is actually a money objection. You know, sometimes a money objection is because you haven't gone through other stuff and you haven't got deep enough. In sales, like if you want to make particularly a higher level sale, like a higher dollar sale, like you got to go pretty deep with the person. We've talked about that in other podcasts, in other episodes, and we get into that a lot in level 2. We get into that in level 1 a fair bit, but we really dig into that level 2 because you're now scaling a premium offer in level 2. And so where I think that we need to talk about here is the importance of actually selling to people who can afford your training and not trying to convince people who can't afford your training to afford your training. You know what I'm saying? Like it's way easier to go to people who have money to convince them to spend it
Right.
than to go to people who don't have money and say, hey, find money and then you can spend it on me. They should probably buy food, you know?
Right.
So, but there's a lot of populations in the fitness industry that a lot of really well-intentioned trainers want to serve that can't really afford training.
Right.
And a few that have come up really in the last 2 weeks are youth athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that one's even tougher because then you're not even selling to them, you're selling to their
Parents. Yeah.
Obviously college students, special populations, any kind of special populations generally don't have as much money, not always. And so I'm going to give you 2, and then a lot of athletes as well. I mean, we're not talking about like high performance athletes, but in almost every sport, even the top athletes have basically no money. And I'll tell you an example of that in a little bit. Like you look at like, you go 30 down from the top in the world and these people are hardly paying their bills in a lot of sports, particularly individual sports. Unfortunately, in a lot of female sports specifically. I actually saw a note today on Reddit. I was just reading some Reddit news beforehand that said that Brazil has said that they're going to pay the male and female soccer teams equal.
Oh, that's cool.
Great. Yeah, which is great.
On the downside, you're back on the Reddit again. Like that's problematic.
I read the news. I don't go into anything else. I don't want to go near there.
We need a really intervention there.
Hi, I'd like to be super helpful to you. Why would you be helpful? And then like all of these disgusting names. Yeah, no, that was a good.
One day you need to tell the story of your first interaction.
We don't want to be that. I mean, there are just words that I don't want to repeat that were said to me. It was insane how angry this person got.
Oh,
and how
man.
quick this person got angry on Reddit. I was like, what are you doing? I need an adult. Jesus, what is going on in your life? Yeah, Reddit is a cesspool. But it's good for news. So the idea here is a lot of really well-intentioned trainers that want to work with a lot of populations that potentially don't have a lot of money think that they need to make the majority of their money from those populations.
Right.
And that's where they go wrong. It's the beginning of the process that's the issue. It's not the end of the process. There's nothing really that I can tell you. I mean, maybe we can help you with sales a little bit and objection handling a little bit at the end, but really your problem is at the beginning. I mean, somebody who doesn't have money doesn't have money, right?
Right.
And so maybe you can make an initial sale, but retaining them and particularly selling like a higher price thing to them is just going to be very, very difficult. So don't even try. Approach this way smarter. And the analogy that I always give here, you've probably heard me give it on this podcast because I think that it's so instructive, is if you are really passionate about dental hygiene in third world countries and you believe the solution is you need to donate a lot of toothbrushes, right? Like all these people need toothbrushes and they can't afford it. You want to donate a lot of toothbrushes. You don't need to start a company that sells toothbrushes to people in third world countries in order to donate toothbrushes to people in third world countries.
Right.
You need to start literally any company doing anything that makes a lot of profit so that you can buy a lot of toothbrushes to give to people in third world countries.
There we go.
Like your mission and where you make the majority of your money can be completely different things. In the fitness industry, they're often related, but they can be completely different things. I'm going to give you two stories of our students that I think are really instructive because both of them had this same thought, and it was very hard for both of them to kind of get out of their head. The first one is Benjamin Mudge, who he's just one of my favorite people. I actually flew him out to Toronto because I just wanted to meet him for a conference a number of years back.
That's where I met him.
That's where you met him, man. That's right. And so he's in Ireland. And Ben has cystic fibrosis. And he's become a bit of a champion in that community because he looks like Thor. The dude is just jacked and had like he doesn't anymore, but had like long hair and stuff. And so he was actually a superhero for kids with cystic fibrosis. I mean, kids would like send him pictures and he would like, it's just a beautiful thing. And he would,
dude.
Yeah, do all these videos for these kids who, were pretty sick. And so Ben, of course, really wants to support the cystic fibrosis community. Well, unfortunately, a lot of people who have chronic illnesses and their families don't have a lot of money because unless you live in Canada, and even if you do live in Canada, it's often very expensive to treat these things. And so he wanted to create a membership community to support these people. And he came to us and basically said, okay, how can I grow this membership community to, be able to generate enough money and profit and stuff like that to be able to grow this community and get it bigger and bigger and bigger? And I was like, you don't need to make your money with that community.
Right.
And he does make a bit of money with it, but it's certainly not like a profit thing. We helped him build because he has a good platform from the work that he does in that community. He's gotten a whole bunch of PR and press, and he's got a pretty big platform as a result of it. We helped him build something called the Athletic Muscle Blueprint, which is a premium high-ticket coaching program where he'll take on 20 or 25 people at any given time. And so he just wrote me, I'm actually interviewing him tomorrow for something for Online Trainer Academy students.
I can't wait for that.
I don't know his exact numbers, but I mean, I know last month he did 40,000 British pounds, which is about 50,000 US.
Yeah.
He did 35, I think, the month before. I think he did 35 the month before that. And so what's incredible here is like that takes maybe half of his time. And then the other half of his time, he can give back to his community and he can invest some of the profits from his highly profitable business into his mission. You see what I'm saying? You can do that. Frank Benedetto is another example that is somewhat similar but somewhat different. Frank's audience is fighters, particularly MMA, although he does some boxing and kickboxing. And like fighters have no money. I mean, unless you're like top 10 in the UFC, you have no money. And so his business and what his brand is training people for fights. So people will come to him 8 to 12 weeks out of a fight, and he'll get them physically prepared for that fight. Well, these fighters really don't have much money, so he can't charge them much money. And they're all in, so they'll invest money into it. But I mean, really, like $100 is like all that they have a lot of the time.
Right.
But what we identified with him and what he's built now is the Train Like a Fighter premium product. And what the Train Like a Fighter is we basically identified, well, there are a whole bunch of people who are not fighters, and make a lot of money, i.e. like investment banker types, like high pressure, go get 'em type jobs that love fighting, that want to train like a fighter, that follow fighter communities.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where Frank's brand in the fighter community comes up, that have a ton of money that want to train like a fighter. So now Frank basically has two businesses. He has the Train Like a Fighter business dealing with corporate types where he's charging a few $1,000s for a 12-week program. And then he has his fight preparation. His fight preparation is more or less completely run by his team, and he uses a lot of automation in there as well. And then his Train Like a Fighter is where he shows up, and he's actually more or less replaced himself in that too, and he's the business development guy. That's what you do. You don't go after people. Like, what do you do if your clients can't afford your training? You find clients who can. That's the answer. And I hope that those few examples are illustrative enough to make you realize that this does not mean that you cannot serve the people that you want to ultimately serve. It's the exact opposite. If you want to serve the people that you ultimately want to serve, and they don't have much money, well, then you need to build a business that allows yourself to serve them in greater capacity and scale your impact to them by making money somewhere else. And that's actually how you're going to serve them better. So I'm sure, everybody coming onto this podcast, if they made it through the first 30 minutes of complete nonsense, were expecting some sort of objection handling. Like, how do you convince people? Like, you see all of these like dumb sales trainers are like, well, get the person to sit down with their credit card statement and figure out where you can save them money and then tell them to invest that money back into you. It's like, okay, man, that's one of those things that people who haven't been in the game actually tell you to do because they feel like it sounds good. But I don't know about you. First off, I've never heard that working in real life. Never. Like, literally never heard of a single example where that's worked to convert a sale, where somebody objected on money. The second is, I don't know about you, man. I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
Like, I straight up, I don't feel comfortable doing that on a phone with somebody.
Right. Debbie, here's what I'm thinking. Let's scale back the groceries this month. You need this and you need it now. Do the
Debbie,
kids really need meat this week? I don't think so, Debbie.
I noticed, Debbie, that you were buying those individual tuna fish that have a little bit of flavor. I can actually save you 50 cents a packet by getting the big unflavored tuna fish. And then all you got to do is just put a little bit of pepper on that thing, and it's basically the same thing, Debbie. Basically the same thing. Yeah. And then you got an extra $2.50 a month.
Right.
I mean, Debbie, have you even looked at your bill, Debbie?
Right. All of a sudden, you're Charles Schwab on the phone.
Yeah,
trying to close a client for training. Give the kids Benadryl; they won't know the difference between the flavors.
Debbie, I noticed that you're paying $3 a month for your bank account, Debbie. You should probably call your bank and see if they'll take away that charge, Debbie. See, we've just made you $5.50. Right. Can we go deeper, Debbie, and see where we can make you a little bit more? Webbie, I noticed you're going to Starbucks once.
Oh my God.
That's another $1.85, Debbie. We can keep going, Debbie. Do you want to keep going, Debbie? Like, I'm not doing that nonsense. I mean, come on. So the solution here is not trying to figure out a way for people who don't have, and first of all, like, you know how much work it is to get to that point with these people that they're going to let you do that?
Right.
I mean, you already have spent hours on converting that client versus if people can't afford your training, find people who can.
Right.
And use your platform, right? Like Ben built his platform by becoming a hero in the cystic fibrosis community. He wanted to support the cystic fibrosis community. And so he figured that there were some people on his platform that had the money. They did. He got a very small amount of them to invest in a premium product so that he could support his community. Frank became an expert in the fighting community. We identified together that there are people in the fighting community who are not fighters but love fighting, who have lots of money. Let's build a program for those folks so that we can support the fighting community and continue to improve our brand there. You don't have to leave it, and it doesn't have to be completely different. It could just kind of bridge on top of it. And then you can just go to Debbie and you'll be like, yo, Debbie, buy the good tuna fish.
Right.
You know?
I've got a different product for you, Debbie. You know, this for all the tuna fish buyers. You know, it's membership access, low barrier to entry, and I really want to serve this community, Debbie. But I think all too often, you know, we deviate from that core tenet, right? The golden rule number one that literally none of us knew when you asked us on the podcast several episodes back, which is what would this look like if it was easy?
Right.
You know, and since we sort of tap dance around that too much, we just sort of automatically try to figure out the most complicated, laborious way to do this business when you could just simplify it. Just
one thing that I've noticed, particularly in the last few months, I feel it's so interesting. I feel like I've gained, and I don't know why, maybe it's just like a tipping point almost being in this industry, the online fitness industry, for as long as I have. I feel like I almost crossed a tipping point a few months ago where my level of understanding, of deep understanding of what trainers are going through has just risen exponentially. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I've really noticed deep down in the last month, particularly, and that I've become aware of, I mean, this has probably always been a problem that I've been aware of, are the amount of constraints that people put themselves under before they begin to figure out a solution to their problem.
Yes.
The amount of things that people, and I do this too, and I catch myself doing it, but the amount of things that people assume to be true. Yep. And then begin their decision-making process based off of these assumed truisms that don't exist. And I think this episode was a good example of this. Like, if you assume it's true that people who you want to work with can't afford you, and it is true that they can't afford you, well, you don't start there. Right? Because if you start there, then you start looking at all of these like, oh, how can I convince them that this is worth it and whatever they're spending their money on isn't?
Right.
How can I become more persuasive? How can I, whatever. It's like, well, you might become a little bit better at those things, but that's not actually solving the real problem, because if you want to solve the real problem, well, you actually have to say, well, there's actually a much easier, straighter pathway for this. Like, let's just find people who have money,
right,
and then work with them. We had somebody posted the other day, just to give another example of something like this. They're like, oh, well, like, hey, I want to do my 5160 hook. So that's, you know, what we teach people in this founding client challenge. I want to do my 5160 hook. Do I tell people that in 60 days, you know, they're going to lose 6 pounds, or do I claim that they're going to lose 8 pounds and really go all out? And I kind of, and I responded to it, and I just said, the marketing allure of one versus the other is negligible. It really makes no difference, 6 or 8 pounds. So, I mean, do whatever you think is realistic. Depending on some populations, 8 pounds in 60 days might be possible. Other ones might not, right?
Right.
And then it, of course, comes down to a program. But like, what really matters here is targeting people. Like, who are you actually talking to? Right. You haven't told me. You literally said, do I tell people that they can lose 6 pounds versus 8? So you started 90% along the way and you're fretting over this decision that has negligible benefit, and you've ignored all of the stuff before. And that's just another example of this idea of like, you're kind of putting these like constraints, right, on what you're doing versus taking a step back and saying, okay, well, like, and this is what we train people to do. I mean, I don't know where she got this, 6 versus 8 from, or where she thought that it was really important. But this idea of like taking a step back, assume this is the first principles approach. If you ever study like Elon Musk's thinking, there's Wait But Why article called, I think it's called The Chef or the Cook. We should link that, Amber. It's incredible article. Talks about the thinking, the first principles approach, basically. And Amazon, Jeff Bezos is very famous for the same thing too. And the idea is, Amazon's mantra is assume it's always day one, which means whenever you make a decision, don't allow your biases. Assume that you are coming into this with no biases whatsoever and gathering the information you need to make the best decision possible. Go back to first principles. Go back to what would this look like if it were easy? Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of the time you'll figure out that there's way easier ways to do a lot of the stuff than what a lot of the folks, listening here, we certainly know a lot of our Online Trainer Academy students are doing. I mean, most of the phone calls that you and the other Amber and the other coaches have with our students is overthinking, and is overthinking based off of false truisms. Hey, my situation is this, and 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 this about all of my clients, and what do I do now? And almost all of the conversations are like, whoa, back up. Do you know for certain that any of those things are actually true that you just said? If so, cool, we'll work forward. But I'm willing to bet that it's not. So let's talk about that first, because there's probably actually a much easier path that we can go down here.
Right. Isn't it a Seneca quote? We suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality. I think that's a Seneca quote.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I lay that one out a lot in OTA coaching, for real. And I also quote that precision nutrition, mowing the lawn when the house is on fire. That's another favorite one of mine too. I'm like, bro, your house is on fire. You're telling me about the shrubs right now. Like, let's put the house out first. Yeah. We can send the lawn to a house that we can actually go back into. It's to wrap it up. So, Amber's got Post-it notes now. She's got.
I don't like this.
I like the random sheet of paper. It seems too planned to me, as if her expectation is that we will habitually overtalk, and she knows that. She's bought a whole stack of Post-it notes just for the express purpose. She's got three stacks. There's 4.
She invoiced our company for the Post-it notes. She was like, I need so many Post-it notes because these idiots don't wrap it up.
Amber Reynolds literally has a pride rainbow of Post-it notes right now that she's utilizing to tell us to wrap it up, which is a good safety precaution. Wrap it up. So, good episode, Jonathan. Thank you so much for twisting my insight, turning it around for me. I see what I did wrong. I went to Debbie and told her to get rid of her tuna fish. I shall nary do it again. I'm healed by your wisdom, sir, and your words as always. And we're going to move on from episode 34, and we're probably going to come with 35 next. We'll see what happens. We don't do numbers here.
Something like that.
If you want the show notes, all that important chocolatey goodness that's chock full of nougat and peanuts and caramel, you can get that at onlinetrainer.com/podcast or something like that. I think that sounds right. Is that the right onlinetrainer.com/? All right, I nailed it. And we'll see you for episode 35, and hopefully we'll talk more about Catalina next week when she's actually here. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. I just threw up a peace sign on the podcast. That's crazy, but it happened. Whatever. Can we get some jingle? Jingle. All right. Peace.
All right. Yeah. All right, buddy.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.